We can go between two options here, but I think number three in terms of potential, and who's been our number one in the past is going to be Luis Severino. Uh, Sevy has also had his fair share of injury stuff in the last year. Really gave us a full, somewhat season last year. He ended up on the 60-day diet IL towards the middle of the season, which he was not happy about. Gave us 102 innings. How do you feel about Sevy's spring so far? That high ERA, and some of his outings haven't looked too great, but
So the ERA is not ideal, as some would say, but like honestly, the velo's there, and that's the most important thing with him in terms of what I'm looking for in spring training. Just to make sure he doesn't have arm stuff going on. He was pumping 80, no, sorry, 98, 99, 100 a few times even this spring training, which is obviously what you want to see out of him. Having three guys that can pump that at the top of your rotation is, or just throughout your rotation is, I think, a little bit important in the current state of baseball. But this dude has the tenacity to come back, and like I think this is the year that he comes fully back to form because I was happy with what he gave us last season in the innings that he gave us as well. Um, his injury stint was, I believe, for was it the hamstring or the groin? So it wasn't a shoulder injury or an elbow injury, which I think was the biggest thing I was looking out for. And it does sound like they held him down in the IL for a little bit longer than he wanted to be down there. So I'm assuming that he was healthier way earlier on, but they wanted him saved and ready to go fresh for the postseason and down the stretch in September when they really needed him. So I am not mad about the way that he ended his season whatsoever. I am a little bit concerned that he hasn't fully found the feel for that slider yet, but I think I want to say his last televised start that he had, he really did find it towards the end of the start. He struck out two or three guys straight with it. And it had the proper like vertical yet horizontal depth that you want to see out of his arm slot. So everything was breaking a lot tighter, and he just looked a lot sharper than he did early on, which is what you would expect out of a pitcher coming back from not only TJ but also coming back in spring training, who's getting a feel for all of his secondary stuff. So if we look at his baseball savant page, he's not that great with the exit velo, a lot like Garrett Cole. I think they profile very similar as pitchers in general. But his K rate is 78%, and his expected slugging is top 83%, and fastball velocity is top 80%. So there's a lot there that you can really hang your hat on and be like, this is the guy that's going to propel himself to the top of the rotation this year. And also, he's looking for a big contract, a big payday at the end of the season. So that's where I'm kind of standing with him. I think he's another, if he can give us 150 to 160 innings, you're looking at 175 to 200 strikeouts and maybe like a low three, high two ERA, which I think everyone that's a Yankees fan would bank for that at this point.
yeah, I mean, I'm high on Sevy. If you like putting on long odds bets,
Yeah.
Sevy probably has really good odds to win the Cy Young or to finish top three in a Cy Young, or even like be an all-star. I know that that's a little bit different of a criteria, but look at Sevy in 2017 and 2018. He was the bona fide number one for the Yankees. He put up 190 innings those years, finished third in Cy Young and ninth in Cy Young, respectively. And he's had a few injuries. Like he'd had a barely pitched in 2019. He did not pitch in 2020. He barely pitched in 2021. Last year he came back and he threw 102 innings. And I was trying to compare, what is Sevy doing in 2017 and 2018 versus 2022? Looking at his K per nine, right in line, right around 10 K per nine. Very similar seasons. His K rate, right around 28% K rate. I was looking through and I was like, what made last year feel a little bit different than the Sevy of old? Because some people think that, we've lost that Sevy completely. His velo is a little bit down, but I think it's there. And the big thing, like you said, Jake, the most significant difference in all of his StatCast numbers and his batted ball data that I saw, his hard hit percentage in 2022 was 41.3%, which is very high for a starter. And that's about 10% up from 2017 and 2018 when you have those full sample sizes to compare when he was an all-star level pitcher. But if you look at everything else, his barrel percentage is about the same. His average and max exit velo is about the same. It's just that a higher percentage of his pitches are catching the zone and being hit really hard.
Yeah.
just a little bit more. And like you said, he factors out similar to Cole. Sevy will seem more likely than giving up just big homers to like have a few strings of doubles, or I think he kind of just loses the zone, or
Yeah.
not that he loses the zone. He unfortunately finds the zone, loses his spots sometimes. I think Severino, now he's had a full year. They've been really careful with his injury. They did not allow him to go to the WBC, which is unfortunate for him. Good for us, in my opinion, just to let him rehab. Um, I could see Sevy has the potential to be a number one on a lot of MLB teams. Even has the potential to be number one on a Yankees team if Cole and Rodon have down years. That's how good he is, and I'm excited for him this year.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that if he was on another organization right now, he would be the ace. Like that's just the type of arm he is, and that's just the type of personality he is. He is very much an alpha dog. Um, and one thing I do really want to see more out of him this year is maybe like one thing that always has impressed me about Garrett Cole is that there's 100 in the chamber at any given time, 101 maybe, that he can give out, in the seventh inning with runners on first and third, and it's a close game and there's two outs. And that's one thing with Sevy is sometimes it seems like he fizzles out with a velo later in games and he doesn't always get to that later point. I feel like the way that he's advanced his pitching arsenal by learning these secondary pitches, he now throws that cutter, which is looking pretty solid. I don't love it just yet for him, but it is a new tool that he's incorporating in, which I think will play well off of his changeup, which has gotten drastically improved. And then also his fastball, which has obviously been pretty elite for most of his career. I think that he has the pitch mix now to like know how to manage his velo a little bit better. So that way he's pitching a little bit more towards weak contact and missing barrels earlier in the game. And then he can rear back and get 100 without blowing his arm out in the seventh inning, eighth inning. And that will benefit him and the Yankees a lot in playoff time. Because that's where I think, all want to see him perform the best is when he's in game 4 or game 3 of a DS or a CS, because that's what we've kind of been missing. Like he'll have decent playoff performances, but we haven't seen that ace outing, which Garrett Cole gave us last year, which a lot of other pitchers have given us in the past. It's like we just need to see that extra oomph where he's, given us a little bit like the 110 pitch performance through 7 or 8 innings. And he's saying, this is my mound. I'm not getting off of it. So that's where I'm at with Sevy. I really like him, and I really think that he's got a lot going for him, and it's just a matter of honing into all of his tools.
Nothing excites me more than the prospect of a healthy Sevy going into an away playoff game 3 after 2 games at Yankee Stadium, backed by Cole and Rodon, and having Luis Severino on the road. His demeanor is different when Sevy's on and he's healthy, and there's nothing excites me more, especially if he can be backed up in game 4 by Nestor Cortez.